So I received an email from one of you guys, and what I want to do here is read through the email. I want to comment and hopefully answer some of the questions laid out within the email, hopefully to spark some discussion, to maybe share my perspective, my point of view when it comes to a situation like this. Now, before we even get into the email, I want to say for you guys that hesitate to email me, or those of you that weren't, super apologetic about it, dude, don't. I love getting emails like this. I love the legit questions and comments on the videos. I love it. So please, guys, keep it up. So going into the email, starts off, my name is Miss. I wanted to start by saying that I'm a big fan of your videos and appreciate all the work you do. I also apologize for the long email and in case I touch on topics that you've already covered in videos. So I'm going to pause back and forth when I'm reading through this. Thank you for the support. I truly do appreciate it. Like, you guys don't understand when I think it means more maybe for a smaller YouTuber such as myself. Not that I'm, throwing any type of shade at a bigger YouTuber, but it means so much to say, hey, you guys appreciate it. You're a big fan. Thank you. It's definitely a boost in morale. As far as the long email, I've rambled on for 20, 30 minutes at a time. So we're going to be okay. Touching on topics that I've already covered. If I've already covered a topic and I have a video about it and you are unsure about it or you missed it or something, it means that somebody else missed it. And I'm cool covering something again. The email continues, that being said, your advice has been sound and I want to get an outside opinion. Cool. Thank you. So it continues. About a year ago, I was an officer in a guild on Moonguard, leading an event called Fuck Off Mondays, where we do dungeon achievements, older raid achievements, leveling races, etc. So I'm going to pause here. Excellent idea. I love it. I love the fact that there is a presumably, voluntary, non-mandatory raid where the raiders and maybe I would assume just non-raiders can get together, that we can, I can meet you, you can meet me, we can hang out, we can level up together, we can have fun, we can talk about work and school and girlfriends and boyfriends and husbands and all this stuff, and we can just get to know each other outside of the raid team. Excellent idea. Email continues, I'd been an officer doing this for about 6 months. Anyway, I was also a member of the core raid team, but at the time, our raid all wanted to progress heroic as we had in all of the previous raids since we started raiding. So I will assume, for the entirety of Legion, at least. Our raid and guild leader, however, decided that we were not ready, and we continued to clear normal until we could do it within a couple of hours. So I'm going to pause here. I don't know, and it doesn't say here, at least I'm not picking up on it, but a question just in general, what was being done, and this is something that I want you guys to think about, if you find yourself in this situation, what's being done to get yourself to that next level. If we look at Mythic, obviously there's a roster boss, that's a problem, but if you're looking to go from normal to heroic and your guild just isn't there, farming normal is a very slow and tedious process, and you are, as this gentleman's going to say here, and I guess it's a guy, hopefully, 50-50 shot, but this person here, Mist, is gonna say here in a second as I read through the email, people are gonna leave. This revolving door as you try to get people to that next step, that next, threshold for them to get to. And simply running normal over and over again is not just the answer. Find the detriments. Do the tanks, do the healers, do the DPS know what they're doing? Do they have the right gear, enchants? Are they mechanically sound? Are they running Mythic Plus? Do they have artifact power? All that stuff. It's not just let me gear up. It's can we handle the mechanics? Are we doing things properly, etc. So that's just something to think about if you find yourself in this situation. So email continues. It had gotten to the point where members were threatening to leave the guild if they could not progress. Long story short, about a third of the team did, and we still had 12 to 14 members active. Our guild and raid leader started logging in less, and eventually we only had 8 to 9 raiders. Where was that determination there? Because of this, he told the raid that it was canceled because he did not want to pug. Very selfish. Immediately after this, the next raid officer stood up and began putting the groups together. Awesome. Great initiative. This lasted about a month before the guild leader's wife and RP head called him, I assume this is the officer, an elitist for not taking every guild member who was interested onto a high-level Mythic Plus run. So, needless to say, Moon Guardians only ever start drama was reinforced. Okay, so I am going to pause there. So, an officer stands up, takes initiative, puts groups together, but he doesn't take everybody to a high-level Mythic run. So a fellow officer and the guild leader's wife, that's a bad combination, calls him an elitist. I've talked about relationships before, especially when you're in a leadership position. It puts you in a really shitty spot, where exactly where this guild leader was at, where if his wife is an officer, he has a very difficult choice to make. Do I side with, the woman that I'm married to who is an officer or not, regardless of who's right? And come on, you know who you're going to choose. You're going to choose your wife. And I would suggest not putting yourself in that situation. She probably should not have been an officer. It's as simple as that. Don't put yourself in a situation where you have two officers that are fighting or bickering or, being detrimental to the raid or the guild. And you simply by proxy, boyfriend, girlfriend, family member, etc., are required to stick up for him. What is this guy going to do? No, honey, you're an idiot. Stop yelling at the officer. I'll sleep on the couch tonight. Not going to work. Also, I do question, what was she doing to help those folks with that high-level Mythic Plus run? Where was the guild leader at? Things like that. Was he just not logging in? I guess you do say our guild and raid leader started logging in less. Yeah, you did say that. So, because of this, and continuing the email, because it was the guild leader's wife and the guild leader wasn't saying anything, he told the officers to deal with it. Taking charge, leadership right there, and took an extended break from the game along with his wife, probably for the best. This was too late for the raid team, though, since the raid officer who was doing a lot of the work had enough. I would imagine, I could definitely agree with that. For the next 4 to 5 months, the guild had no events, and we would have been legally considered dead if we had checked its pulse. Holy shit, 4 to 5 months of nothing. Yeah, that's definitely a dead guild. So now for the current issues. About January, one of the only remaining officers and I decided we needed leadership. Yes, you needed leadership 6 months ago. Simple as that. Actually, looking back, looks to be about the time that you took over as, that you were promoted to officer. So I can only fault you for so much. This other officer really should have stepped in and gotten things taken care of. So about January, you guys stood up. You said, hey, we got to get some leadership. Fortunately, the previous guild leader messaged me and offered the guild leader position, which I accepted. I do question, and maybe you could tell me why didn't he pick the other guy? Were you there longer? I don't know, just curiosity. Which you accepted and had left my second Mythic Progression guild to do. So you have stepped down from a Mythic Progression guild as presumably a raider to take over this normal, wanting to do heroic guild. That's an interesting choice. Maybe not one that I would have taken, but I think it's interesting, and I can commend and I admire the devotion and the challenge ahead of you. So let's see here. You step down from your Mythic Progression Guild to do so. I message any of the other officers who are on hiatus and give them a job. A recruitment head, raid assistant, RP head. Since at the time we still wanted to include that as part of the guild. Okay, so I'm going to pause there. That is exactly what you need to do. When you are forming a guild, when you are kicking things into gear, you need to have officers that are doing things. I don't want my officers sitting there doing nothing. If my officers are doing nothing consistently, they are dead weight. And we've talked about this several times. We talked about this during the guild survey. We talked about this during delegating your authority, things like this, where, yes, your officers, you need to find that fine balance. if you are a heroic guild that has, let's say, hypothetically, 15 consistent raiders, you don't need 5 officers. If you have, if you have a mythic guild with 20, 25, 30 people, maybe a few extra officers would help you out. But the officers should be doing something in the raid and then something outside of the raid. And I think that taking charge and giving everybody a job is the right way to do it. He started to recruit again and began posting normal raids for people with the intention to hopefully get everyone AOTC. Advertising for this, we built up 12 to 14 members who would come back 2 days a week for 2 hours a day. That is a mighty small raid schedule. That is 4 hours of raiding a week. You say it took you a few weeks, but as a guild, we cleared normal. Awesome. After a couple of weeks of this, I took everyone into heroic, and after wiping on hounds, I had decided we needed more time in normal for gear. Again, what other things were you doing? Were you addressing some of the issues with mechanics and DPS and healing and tanking? I assume you did, but that's always a question that you should ask yourself is, what besides gear is the problem? Is Johnny standing in fire? Is Steve just not healing? What's the deal? What's going on? So going back to normal, people were unhappy and numbers started to dwindle again. Of course they did. People were pissed. They wanted to do heroic until we were struggling on upper bosses. My raid officer and I made the decision to let people bring whatever item level 915 tune to raid so that they could decide if they want to re-roll for BFA. So I will pause again here. I think if you are struggling to get into heroic and your raiders have the intent to do heroic to get AOTC before the pre-patch, which is sometime in July, I think is word on the street. And I could totally be wrong. Don't hold me to that one bit. That maybe letting people bring in 915 item level characters to the raid, to just willy-nilly change it. Maybe not the right decision. Maybe I would have bumped that item level up. Maybe, it really depends because you're raiding so little every single week that you really got to push, right? So while we were doing this, we were still able to clear it through upper. However, one raider in particular was troublesome. I had told him when he first joined that he needed to use voice chat, if only to mute everyone but my other raid officer and myself. He did not have to speak. Yeah, exactly. And I've told people this, the same thing. If you find everybody annoying, mute everybody. Just listen to me. I don't like it. I don't approve of it. But you know what? I'd much rather you be able to hear a little bit than not a damn thing at all. Especially if you're trying to get into heroic rating. If you're trying to do some actual progression, you gotta talk, man. You gotta call crap out. He outright refused. A little weird, but I've seen people do it. I told him I would give him a few weeks to get to know everyone in hopes he would change his mind, but at this time he was starting new stuff. He, being a hunter, was misdirecting to totally random targets, and multiple raid members were complaining that they were dying because they had aggro. I did not see the boss switch aggro myself, but I had given a generic statement to the hunters to stop using misdirect. He replied that he would not, and when I asked why, he told me that it was part of a macro and that he would not show me. Okay, so again, I'm going to pause right here. So not talking in Discord, in the grand scheme of things, not a huge deal. Yes, you want to be able to call things out. This is coming, I'm down, I'm up, whatever. You need to make call outs if you're going to raid. But not doing it isn't the end of the world. However, I'm going through here. Misdirecting to, and I had to find my place. Misdirecting to totally random targets and people dying because of aggro switching. There are, first and foremost, if you're having trouble tracking that stuff, I believe ORA, and I'm sure there's other add-ons that will call that crap out. That will say, so-and-so misdirected to so-and-so. Fan of knives, I think, if the threat mechanic is still there, misdirect, stuff like that. But the fact that he is doing it and being brought into the raid, and I've talked about this before, it's unfair to the rest of your raid when you bring in a detrimental raider that doesn't have the intent to fix themselves. If I bring you into the raid and you are trying everything possible to stay alive, to pull numbers, and for whatever reason that's out of your control, you're not able to do it. You're super low gear. We're running you through to get you gear, or something has happened. I had a raider that broke his arm. So he simply, when he played like poop, and there were times where he just couldn't play. And these are things that we accept, but misdirecting just to fuck with people, no, you're not looking to rate. You're looking to be an asshole. So he replied that he would not, and when asked, he said it was part of a macro that he's not going to show you. If he's not going to stop dicking around and he says he can't fix it because it's part of a macro, drop him. He's not interested in hanging out. He's not interested in rating. He's interested in making your life a living hell. So you say, because of this and him not getting into voice chat, I had told him to talk to my officer myself after raid. Long story short, he quit the guild and found myself in real life and started messaging threats. Holy shit. So long story short, he quit the guild. Okay. I would have preferred you or your officer had gotten rid of him, but okay. The problem in the guild is gone. He found you in real life and was messaging you threats. Now that's crazy. Maybe people are going to go, oh, don't be a little girl, don't be a, whatever. Take that crap to the police. Just in case, God forbid something happen. Just get it documented. And I'm not trying to be funny. This isn't a joke. You want to have that crap documented. Like I said, if this guy's an idiot and he's going to do this, who knows what else he'll do just to mess with you. And something that, he's trying to mess with you could end up with you getting hurt. And I don't want that. So definitely get it documented. You say he messaged you, was it text messages or something? Take it to the police, have it at least documented. Since this incident with one less raider, although toxic, our raid team has only had 5 to 8 people a night, which is not surprising being this time of the expansion. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's the end of the expansion. You're looking at BFA coming out in what, like 2.5 months? So you're looking at a pre-patch, probably at about 5-6 weeks, somewhere around there. So yeah, I mean, people just aren't logging in. After this, though, one officer mentioned that our guild had done the exact same thing in Warlords of Draenor and that we would not break out of the loop. Okay, so here are the questions that you were asking me. How can I improve our guild to break out of the pattern and build a heroic progress team? Should I have done something differently to have avoided the hunter problem? The only reason I did not kick him initially was because we had so few members and we could not afford to kick one of our higher DPS. What changes do you recommend I make before and during BFA? Okay, so I think these are excellent questions. I think that you were put in a shitty spot. That you're trying your best. A few things that I think that that you need to learn. And I've detailed a couple of things here. And don't take them as me. Hopefully you're not taking them as me being an asshole here. When I'm saying I would have done this or this is it's a learning experience. So don't take it that way. So to answer your questions. How can I improve our guild to break out of the pattern and build a heroic progression team? I think, and I'm in a very similar situation in that I have been told that my raiders would say, "Look, you're the best fucking guild leader." And I'm tooting my own horn here. A lot of them have said, "You're a great raid leader. You're a great guild leader. We love you. You're the best one we've ever had." But we need to progress more. And so something that I've learned is you have to buckle down. You have to, and I've mentioned this before, you have to set expectations. So you need to say, look, here is the deal. You guys, the raid, the guild wants to do heroic content. So we will do heroic content. That means that here are your expectations. If you are a DPSer, you will pull this DPS or you will sit. Tanks, you do this or don't do this. Healers, you do this or don't do this. If you screw up on mechanics, you will be sat. You will be this. You'll be that. That way, people know what to expect. So when people start misdirecting, and then you go, look, hit the bench because you're not coming into the raid tonight. Well, why not? Look, we've detailed, we've outlined, here's the deal. Here's what you need to be doing, and we're not going to take this shit. If you want to break that pattern of normalcy, that pattern, and don't take this to be malicious when I say it, but this pattern of failure, you need to not put up with failure. When you have people that aren't pushing themselves, when aren't trying, give them a chance, but sit them. What I mean by that is go, look, your DPS isn't up to par. It's not what we need. I'm going to sit you for tonight. I need you to run Mythic Plus. I need you to run Warfronts or, whatever to get gear in BFA. And then, we'll bring you back next week and see what you got. And it needs to continue. You can't have someone that is rocking the charts tonight, and then come the next raid expansion or the next raid tier, they kind of slack off a little bit, or they slack off quite a bit, and then they're not doing anything. And then you have this guy who's already in, he's a made man, and he's not really helping out the raid. So that's what you need to do, is really commit to not putting up with that crap. To set expectations and to push people and let them know, if you're not going to get there, we will leave you behind. Should you have done something differently to have avoided the hunter problem? The only reason that you didn't kick them initially was because we had so few members, so few members. I swear I can read. So few members, and could not afford to kick one of our higher DPS. So here's something that I really wish a lot of raiders would understand. And, I've got it in my guild too, where people go, oh, so-and-so, this guy sucks and he's bad at mechanics and this, that, and the other. Yeah, but you know what? We do need the numbers. And it's a shitty position to be in, where you take a subpar DPS or a subpar player, mechanically speaking, because without them, you don't have a raid at all. You don't have this, that, and the other. And it sucks. And I wish that players would understand that. Should you have done something differently? I think you may have let it get a little bit too far. If this guy says he's not going to talk in Discord or, Ventrilo, TeamSpeak, whatever, okay, fine. But, when he's misdirecting and he's a detriment to the raid, that's when it's not a failure where, it can be fixed. It's a failure where he's doing it on purpose. So I wouldn't have let it get that far. I think that's something that both you and I need to learn how to do, is to cut it off before it festers. So, and the last thing here, what changes do you recommend I make before and during BFA? I'm a big fan of sitting down with your guild, talking to them, laying out what's going to happen, and just being straight up transparent with them. Look, you guys have said y'all want to do heroic content. We will try to put a raid together for Legion. But come BFA, we are doing heroic content. There will be expectations. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, you can find another home, but we will do heroic content come BFA. So you end the letter here, or the email. Thank you so much for your time, and apologize for the long email once again. Missed. Thank you for sending the email. I seriously do appreciate it. Don't ever apologize for this. I mean, hell, this video is 24 minutes long anyways. So that's what I would do. Is, again, set expectations. Don't put up with shit from anybody. And if people are causing you problems, if they're causing the raid problems, cut them off. Get rid of them. Because it's not going to help your guild. It's not going to help the core team in the end. Pick your leaders. Put them to work. And I hope that come BFA, that you rock that heroic content. And I wish you the best of luck. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to email me. You can find my email address in the comments or the info tab. You leave a comment, whatever you guys want to do. You guys know the deal. Thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you prefer. Until next time, guys, I'll see you.